everyone. Thank you all for being here. I am Megan with Believe in the Run and a co-host of the Move Her Mind event series. This is actually our 12th stop and our final stop in the US, so last one, best one for you all. We're very excited to be here. Megan and I were actually here a couple years ago, so we're happy to be back, and I will let her tell you a little bit more about the study.
Yes, and I am Megan, the other co-host of this event series, and we're very excited to end our series here with you all. If any of you were here 2 years ago when we came out, you know that Red Coyote really brought the thunder on a very warm day with a massive, what was it called? Snow cone. I wanted to say slushy, and I was like, that ain't it. It's not a slushy. Snow cone, and they used Scratch Labs hydration powder in it. It was epic. So we knew that you guys would also bring it for this final stop. So thank you for all being here. Thank you for spending your Tuesday night with us. And as you heard a little bit about the intro, the whole premise of the Move Her Mind event series this summer is based on a research study that ASICS commissioned globally with a PhD out of Kentucky. I forget what university there. And they found some really fascinating things. So I thought I should share some of these stats because I think it's very relatable to all of us. So we all know, right, the more women move, the better we feel, which is probably why we all move our bodies to the extent that we do, which is probably more than the average female out there. So make sure we're encouraging our female friends to move their bodies to the amount that they want. Not necessarily the amount that we crazy runners move our bodies, but encouraging other habits. But some of these stats were very eye-opening. So women who exercise regularly are 52% happier, 48% more confident, 67% less stressed. Can I get a boop boop for that one? But 51% of women that were moving their bodies decreased the amount of movement that they were doing or didn't move to the amount that they wanted to because of, what do you guys think? Kids. Kids was very loud. Time was the biggest thing, right? And then when we have kids, we need like an extra 6 hours in our day? Back to ourselves? It's kids. Maybe that wasn't an option on the checkbox. I don't know. But when we asked men why women weren't moving their bodies, do you think they said time? They sure didn't. They thought we were insecure in our bodies, and that's why we weren't moving them as much. So we got a little bit of work to do here. So that's why we're on this lovely event series to help bring some wonderful women guests from around the country to help us to bridge that gap, to help us understand how do we kind of support each other and support ourselves in moving our bodies to the best of what we are expecting them to do. And we're the only ones who can define that for ourselves. So we have 2 wonderful guests here with us tonight that we'll be interviewing. And we always like them to introduce themselves so that they can share the pertinent information that they want you all to know. So we will start with Jess and let her introduce herself.
Oh boy, okay, hello. I'm super happy to be here with you all. I'm originally from Edmond, suburbs, whoop whoop. Norman's also a great suburb, anyways. And I always loved being outside and being active and moving. And that sort of pivoted to finding myself being a mountain guide. It's kind of a long story how we got there. So now I work as a mountain guide across the world. I was fortunate enough to summit Mount Everest. I was the first woman from Oklahoma. Woohoo! Yep. And love now being able to help other people get outside and have experiences, especially in the mountains and terrain that it's difficult to do if you don't have prior knowledge of. So I'm super excited to be back here with you all tonight.
I am Skye Latimer. I am a lifelong athlete, various sports and things like that, but I'm so excited to be here tonight, especially with ASICS, because my very first pair of track shoes were ASICS, my very first pair of cheer shoes were ASICS, so it's a very full circle moment for me. I show up in the world by trying to be joy and be the light in creating inclusivity and belonging, specifically in dance, specifically for adult dancers. By day, I'm a corporate girly, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, not originally from here or from the suburbs, but very happy to be here tonight.
All right, so we love to start with the origin stories. So Jess, I'll start with you, but when did movement happen? When did that habit form for you?
Ooh, Yeah, way back in the day, no, when I was really little, I did always love being outside. And I think that kind of just continued to doing sports in high school, running cross country, playing soccer, and that kind of thing. But in 2016, I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer and went through a year-long process of kind of the chemotherapy, the surgeries, all that kind of stuff, and your body just gets totally destroyed, and your mental space is also not great after that. I was really young. And so I think at the end of treatment, at the end of all of that, everyone around me was really excited that the cancer was gone, but I sort of felt like, what now? And I went outside. I was trail running, I was running, I started climbing mountains more, hiking, and I felt like in that space, it provided a lot of healing and understanding of sort of what I had been through, and it felt like a healthy way to process that. So I think that's really when it became sort of a core value of my life to always be moving.
And Skye, similar question for you. I think it said you've been dancing since you were 4 years old, but so talk to us, where did that stem from?
Yeah. So growing up, I was seated in front of the TV watching Janet Jackson, Michael Jackson, Destiny's Child, Britney Spears, and was copying back all of those dance moves. So my mom put me in dance class. I started with ballet and tap. And when they wouldn't let me progress beyond the 4-year-old class, I was like, this is dumb, get me up out of here. So then I went into karate and many other sports beyond that. But being an athlete and having that discipline and having that community has always been a staple throughout my entire life. And if I wasn't on a sports team, I was in the gym in some capacity. And even in college, I was doing intramural sports. So that even introduced me to other sports that I hadn't played before, like soccer, which they run so much in soccer, like so much. So I felt like I was kind of like running track at the same time. So yeah, that's kind of my movement origin story.
And Jess, you've been really open about your journey with ovarian cancer. So tell us about when did you find that out, kind of a little bit about that diagnosis, and then where are you with that today?
Yeah, so in 2016, I went in for an annual exam, as we all should, and left that with news that I had a tumor, and kind of started this whole process where eventually they figured out it was ovarian cancer. And so I went through the chemotherapy, a host of different surgeries, a lot of unknowns at that time. I was 20. I'm old enough that I don't remember. 26. Thanks, Mom. I was 26 years old. I was really healthy. I had no family history, and so it was very, very shocking news to process and work through. And I think I chose to be a little bit public about it. I chose to speak up in those years. I think for me, it was like, well, I'm going to be bald, so everyone's going to know. Might as well just put it out there. But it became a really powerful thing to have this community, especially as a young ovarian cancer patient. There's not a lot of younger people, and so I was able to connect with a lot of people in that way. It was a few years of a lot of fear and a lot of treatments and all that kind of stuff, and I still go back for checkups all the time, but I am cancer-free at this moment and very healthy.
So I think sometimes some of our darkest, deepest, hardest moments in life drive us to do something really epic. Do you think you would have ever started climbing mountains if you hadn't gone through that?
Maybe not. Yeah. I think it gave me, I think when you go through something like that, you realize just how low you can go and come back from. And so I think I brought that with me into climbing. Doing long expeditions and that kind of stuff is a lot of endurance and a lot of suffering. And I was like, oh, this is a lot easier post-cancer treatment because I'm not the lowest I could ever be. But yeah, I definitely think it challenged me to live more in the moment and to sort of just go for it, knowing that we don't have that much time and might as well, if you're curious about climbing mountains, pursue that a little bit.
And Skye, you mentioned several different sports growing up. You were on different teams, and it sounds like your movement journey has sort of evolved over time. So how have you kept that joy that you clearly have throughout all of the stages of life?
So I feel like when it comes to dance specifically, so many people and women specifically have been told the lie that they can't dance, which if anyone in this audience has been told that, it's false. Don't believe it.
I'm pretty sure I can't dance.
No, listen. We can move these chairs out. We can clear it out. We can start the dance floor right here. Showing up in dance and creating that community space there, it really allowed me to just appreciate people for showing up. You know that phrase, you could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. And so like really inviting people and being intentional when they show up and thanking them for being there. And, you know, if we finish an 8 count and then we're like, hey, you did that. Like, you most certainly did that. And like throughout our day, like as moms, as wives, as corporate women, as entrepreneurs, as stay-at-home moms, whatever we are, there's not a time in our day where we are getting a standing ovation from a room full of people, where they are shouting for us and cheering for us, and just how we show up in our vessel, no matter what we brought into that space, that we get to create community, to make friends as adults, because we know that that's really hard, and that we get to walk through the journey of life with people. And so in the dance space, you know, we're adults when we're dancing, and so we're dancing through graduations and birth and loss and illness and divorce and marriage, and so many different things. And so from what I have been told, it is not possible to sit in your grief while you are moving your body in that way. That vulnerability, that joy, the way that it shows up and the way that you have to show up in dance, it has to stay out of your head. It has to stay out of that space. And so I think that the way that I bring the joy in is knowing that so many people are coming into wherever the dance floor is, whether it's a wedding, whether it's in the studio, whether it's out in the streets at a festival, knowing that people are coming into that space with me, and I get just that blip of that moment to be their joy, or to be their release, or to be their exhale.
It takes a lot of confidence to dance, right? To get up and move your body in front of other people. Have you always kind of had that innate confidence in you, and you bring that to other people and help people feel that way in what you just described to us? Or is that something that you've had to build over your lifetime?
I would say when it comes to dance, yes, always. But the rest of life, no. My husband's sitting here on the first row, and he will definitely tell you that he has believed in me more than I believe in myself. But when it comes to dance, that is just like a divine thing where like it just, if my body is moving, if I'm breathing with people, if the music is right, like if Bruno Mars comes on right now, I'm dancing up on the stage, you know? Hey, DJ. With dance specifically, it feels like that confidence can show up because it's purposeful.
Jess, I'd love to go back to summiting Mount Everest real quick, because that seems pretty epic. Can you talk to us about that whole experience and maybe what you learned from it?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. Yes, I can. I had a pretty incredible opportunity, in fact, to take 20 ovarian cancer survivors and oncologists and caregivers to Everest Base Camp. And then part of this big project was to put the first ovarian cancer survivor on the summit. And it was sort of this moment of life where it was like, this can't be real, like everything I love coming together, advocating for ovarian cancer, guiding, and then getting to climb myself as well. And so it was truly a trip of a lifetime. It takes 2 weeks just to get to base camp. So the team, we trekked in together. And then once you're there, generally it's about 2 months in total to actually climb. So you go up and then come back down and then go higher and then come all the way down. So you kind of do these rotations on the mountain. And it was incredibly challenging, I think mentally, almost more than physically, because you're in this very extreme environment. You're living at 17,000 feet for the majority of that time and climbing higher. And so trying to stay mentally strong, trying to eat well, trying to take care of your body while it's like actively deteriorating is a challenge. But yes, I was able to have the chance. I always say like climbing Everest is like mostly luck. Like a million things have to go in your favor to actually summit that mountain that are really outside of your control entirely. So my only goal was like make sure that I'm ready if I get the chance. And I got really lucky with weather, with conditions, with everything that was going on. But it was, yeah, one of the more challenging things I've ever done.
You mentioned eating well. What in the world were you eating for those 2 months?
Remember earlier when I said my favorite food was sugar? Yeah. Mountain eating is like the opposite of probably what a nutritionist would say is real life eating. So you're trying to eat as many calories as you possibly can. You are burning an impossible amount of calories, so high calorie foods. When you're actually on the mountain, like packages of mashed potatoes, not freeze dried, but like dehydrated mashed potatoes, that was my go-to. I took like millions of packages from here in the US, and that's what I ate on the mountain pretty much the whole time. But yeah, your body at those altitudes also is like fully shutting down. So your digestive system's not really working. So you have to work really hard to eat.
And so you're doing most of these climbs with a group of people, and as a guide, you're taking people through challenges that they go through together. From your perspective, what is it about going through that struggle as like a group or together that brings people so close together?
Yeah, I think in that of the whole Everest trip, my favorite part was the trek in with those 20 other people, because we had this incredible chance to be together. All of us had sort of a unifying factor relating to cancer, but we didn't really talk about it much. We were just there and walking and in our own places, and we just had this like unspoken understanding of what was happening. And there was so much joy in that. I think some people might have thought we were just like crying all the time. I don't know, sort of like processing these deep things, but it was so much more about like dance. We were like dancing through the Khumbu Valley. Like we were like a group of, it was like 19 women and 1 man. And like people would be like, everywhere we went, they're just like, who is this group of women that's like singing every morning, like dancing their way like through the Himalayas? It's like, it's fine, don't ask questions, we're just having fun. But I think that's what's so powerful about being out there, is that everything else is sort of stripped away. You are doing something very challenging. So often the worst parts of you do come up and you're like, okay, what do I do with this now? I'm tired, I'm angry, I'm tired of this food, my body's physically exhausted. And I think for me, it's so inspiring to get to be with people in that space and see how everyone sort of rises to the occasion or learns something about themselves or challenges themselves in a way that's like really impossible in our normal lives.
And as a guide on the mountain, you're probably seeing that out of the best of the worst out of humans, right? Singing and dancing through the mountains and then these very, very low moments. As a guide, do you get a lot of satisfaction, or maybe that's the wrong word, out of being that purposeful human in these people's lives to guide them through the ups and the downs? And are there any like stories about that you'd like to share?
I had a gal from Oklahoma just on a climb with me yesterday. We got off the mountain. But yeah, that's one of my favorite parts. Sometimes you're like, oh, I'm annoyed with this person because they're being annoying. But more often than not, it's you really are, you're able to be in that space with someone and watch them power through it. So this gal that came and climbed with us, she had no mountain experience at all. She's originally from Oklahoma, lives in Arkansas now, like not a mountain girl, but she like got all the gear, like did all the training, like came on a climb, and she, it's all new to her, right? She's never walked in snow. She's never walked on a glacier. And I had her on my rope right behind me, and she just powered through. I pretty much dragged her the whole way, but she never once complained. Like every time I look back and she had this just like determined face. And so I was like, all right, we're going, we're doing it. Like, let's go. And yeah, those moments are so special. It's really incredible to be able to kind of be a part of that for someone. In the moment, often people are like, I'm never doing that again. And then like 2 seconds later, they get off the mountain and they're like, that was sweet. Like, I'm going back. You get the bug. So yeah.
And Skye, as we were talking earlier, like dance is kind of a community practice in itself. And so what have you learned in being in these spaces and practicing movement with groups of people?
Well, a lot of things, but one, probably discipline. And the weeks that I don't want to show up, maybe I haven't slept because the kid is sick, or maybe I just have a work report due or something like that, that I have to have my set time to create the choreography and prepare the class and prepare my mind, make sure that I'm eating right. So discipline is certainly something that I've learned. But I would also just say gratitude. Every single chance that I get the opportunity to show up to dance, I get to do it in this body. And this body has not only danced on sold-out stages and taught dance class and danced in the house with my family, but it's also birthed children, and it's also danced through hours and hours of workshops and things like that. And so just the ability to move my body and have that gratitude and remind other people that they have that ability too is probably the other big thing.
And you mentioned that you've had a couple children, and I think there is this, maybe stereotype or idea that women are supposed to, quote, like bounce back soon after kids. And so what would you say to someone, or what's some wisdom you would give to someone who is postpartum and either restarting a movement journey or just in that phase of life?
Don't believe that lie. Everybody's body is different and unique and beautiful. I'm not dancing right now. I'm in physical therapy right now. I'm taking care of my body. I'm resting. I'm reading. I'm sometimes watching TV shows when I actually sit down. And so I would just remind people that everyone's, no one has a baby the same way in the first place, and no one's journey to motherhood, parenthood, being a caregiver is the same in any way. And so even though I gave birth to my boys, even if you're coming from it from a foster and adoption type sense, you're a maternal psychology, you're being rewired in your DNA. And so even giving yourself grace if you come to caregiverhood in a different way is different, because those nights are different, the sleeplessness is different, the way that you eat or not eat is different. You never get to drink your coffee when it's hot anymore. Thinking about the process of what goes into a tiny human that can't do anything for itself, and being the caregiver for that, the journey is going to be different. And so however your body returns or doesn't return to what it was before, it's all part of the journey. It's all part of being in this beautiful life.
And have you shared your love of movement through dance with your sons?
Oh, for sure. So Cal is 6, and he has the bug. He loves to dance all the time. No matter where we are, if we were here right now, he would start doing the worm across the floor. We have to tell him, son, the floor is dirty. Don't do this right now. And then Miles is 7, so he doesn't have it yet, but he will. The other person who has caught the bug is my husband, and he has started teaching Zumba since the pandemic. And so having seen our recitals and having seen me dancing and stuff like that, he now has a greater appreciation for movement in that way.
There was a note in your bio that said you love to start spontaneous dance parties in your house. So I imagine that's epically fun, but tell me, how does that shift the whole vibe in the household when you do this?
So anytime that I turn music on, it's we have a Google Home set up, and so all the speakers will turn on, and it doesn't matter if we're dancing to Bruno Mars, Britney Spears, the kids' musics and stuff like that. We'll turn it on, everybody will start vibing, and we've kind of started to try to build it into a little bit of routine, to not only teach the boys this is healthy and movement is for everyone, but also in a sense of okay, let's get this energy out before you go to bed. Get in that bed.
Jess, I've stalked your Instagram a little bit and seen all of the beautiful places that you have gone. So for someone who's maybe new getting into trail running or just outdoor space, give us some of your top places to go and that you've experienced.
Oh boy, that's a tough one. Well, we have a beautiful little mountain area here called the Wichitas. Hopefully, yeah, woo, got some Wichita fans in the audience. Yeah, it is a little gym. I was actually just thinking, I was I was looking at some routes just yesterday, like maybe there'll be some fun. But there's so much fun exploring there, and the rock is so interesting. I obviously love Nepal. I think I've been 8 times now, and I'll be back in the spring. It's one of my favorite places in the world. Even if you don't want to climb Mount Everest, just going there and trekking and being in the Himalayas is like no other experience. If you're my dad, you'll say it's a once in a lifetime experience, as in you'll only go once in your lifetime. But for me, I feel it's, just one of the most incredible places. And then I spend my summers in Washington working on Mount Rainier, guiding there. And Mount Rainier continues to be one of the most beautiful, interesting, dynamic, complex mountains in the world. So it's also one of my favorites.
And maybe this is for both of you, but I'm going to start with Skye. When you think about the joy that you get from moving your body, how would you help others find that same type of joy with movement?
I would say find your people. I feel like it's really important to remember that if you are ever in a space of like loneliness or isolation, that you can call up somebody and you can go for a walk, you can go to spin class, you can do anything like that. And just having that moment of movement and all of the stuff that your body gets from that, being able to move your body with someone that you can lean on, that you can tell about, what's going on in your life or anything like that. I just think that there's so much power in when you're in that mindset and finding your people and being able to call on them in that sense of time. And then I would also just say that, again, just gratitude that we get to move our body, and while I was pregnant with both of them, I was seated and I couldn't move my body. And that type of lack of mobility is extremely frustrating. And so it only takes a moment for someone to go from moving to completely not being moving and being bedridden or whatever it may be, or being too busy or whatever it may be. And so the gratitude and community, really leaning on your people.
What about you, Jess?
Yeah, I think similarly. I think it's about finding what works for you. So at different points in your life, it's like maybe climbing Mount Everest is on the table and you're ready for it. But I think the same feeling that I get there is the feeling that I get just going on a walk with friends or trying something new. We were talking about surfing. I went surfing this summer. I don't know how to surf. It's fine. Friends were like, we're going surfing. And I was like, okay, let's try it out. Mostly just ate water, but it's totally fine. So I think for me, so much of it is just like taking those opportunities and not, I think probably a lot of us in this room, it feels like we have to be hardcore a lot, right? Like, oh, I gotta go on a run, I gotta get this pace, I gotta match that time. And I think for me, it's about often trying not to be so hardcore and just being like, what do I need right now? And even just a simple walk or a little dance party with the family or whatever it might be, any sort of movement, I think always can bring you back to a space and really help, whatever you're going through, you just kind of get out of it for a little bit.
Yeah, and sort of on that note, you've said movement is medicine. What would you say to someone, or some encouragement to someone who is just starting like a healing journey?
Totally. Yeah, I think just start. That's the biggest thing, is that, again, you don't have to run a marathon or climb Mount Everest. It's really just about getting out there, going on a simple walk, doing anything is super powerful for our brains, super powerful for the stress relief, for everything that we're dealing with and enduring. So yeah, I think just starting.
I don't know about all you guys, but these two have just completely motivated me to challenge myself to move my bodies in other ways than just running in a straight line. Seriously. So thank you guys so much for bringing this. I think it's so easy for a lot of us, especially us that are primarily moving our bodies through running, to I haven't water skied in 2 years because I don't want to get hurt for running. You guys are making me realize that it is the silliest thing that I haven't done, right? That, there's so many ways we can move our body, and you guys definitely brought that to the table tonight. So really appreciate you guys both being here for that. And we do have time a little bit of time for some questions. So we're going to open that up to the audience for anything that you have to ask our wonderful guests today.
Hi. You had said, this is for Skye, that you are helping people move like in adult spaces for dance. Do you have connections for that or ways that people in the community can get involved with that?
Yes. So when I do teach, I teach in Oklahoma City at Sweet Yield Studio. So I would highly recommend them. They not only have adult dance classes, but they also have yoga that pops up. They will have like a walk or like a bring your own bike type of event. So movement there. When I was dancing professionally, I also did that with Race. So that's another great studio that I love here in the city. And then festivals. Here in the plaza, they have called like a Calderon Festival, and so there will be opportunity to dance there, and it'll be all types of dance from like all different backgrounds and abilities, or just the whole street is shut down and we're dancing in the street. So there are a lot of events like that where you get to be outside and sweat with community and make friends in that way too.
Okay, for both of you, what do you wish you had started doing earlier? Like, what's one thing you wish you had just went ahead and, I know you mentioned one thing, but can you give us something a little bit different, and then for you as well?
What's one thing I wish I started doing earlier? Ooh, I think I am a relatively competitive person, and I think when I was younger and sort of getting into sports and cross country and soccer and all those things, it was everything, the numbers mattered, everything mattered. So I think I wish I would have just gone out a little more, like no watch, no nothing, and just enjoy it. Yeah. And we were talking a little bit earlier, I didn't grow up trail running, turns out. Not a lot of trails around here. There are some I try and find when I get home. But trail running for me, when I sort of first got into that in college and after, that's sort of what I found in trail running, is that it was less about pace and timing and more about like what the terrain was teaching you, and the pace didn't matter. It just mattered how you moved through that space. And so yeah, I think I would have tried to let go a little bit earlier of the numbers.
I would say being a content creator, I wish that I had started creating content earlier. In the digital world, it allows me to reach so many more people and to be joy for people in other spaces and other areas of life. And so being able to create that space in a digital way and not be so blocked into, oh, I didn't make the Thunder Girls, and so I'm not a good dancer. Or, oh, I didn't make this audition, so I can't dance in this way, when all it takes is for me to show up in my joy, and the views be rolling in. So like, I wish that I had started doing that earlier and had been less mindful of trophies.
My question is, what advice would you give to, I think most of us here are around younger girls. So what advice would you give to those of us who have kids or are an influence to, kids getting those girls to move, because they are really discouraged in a lot of ways from being active, or if they are active, it's all focused on the trophy and the time and the competitiveness as opposed to the camaraderie, it seems.
Okay. I think for me, it's just about getting outside, right? So outside of sports or outside of competitive dance teams, or, sort of that role of like, I want to go play baseball, I want to go do this or whatever it is. It's kind of creating spaces maybe as a family that are fun and engaging, and that they're learning that this isn't all about suffering or that kind of thing. It's like we can actually have fun in these places. And yeah, my parents both did a great job of that when I was younger. My mom, shout out, hey, she would take us on rogue adventures, to unexpected places in Oklahoma. Like often we went camping a fair bit, but we went to some sand dunes. We went to like the salt crystal place. I don't know. I like the salt plains. Thank you so much. Salt. I literally never play it cool. So the bat caves. Yes, I remember those too. So a lot of those memories for me, I think, instilled this value of I have so much fun when I'm in those places. So I think trying to create that where it's like a really, and if they're, you go on a walk or something and you have a plan to go 3 miles and they're not having fun after half a mile, you're like, okay, let's walk right back. Like, that's okay, so.
And I'll add to that too, as a mom of an 8-year-old girl, I cannot believe how the landscape has changed for youth sports just since we were kids. They're all pigeonholed into picking a sport very, very young, and if you don't make the cut at age 6, 7, or 8, then you're done with that sport, and it can be very discouraging. And it's been hard to see that change, knowing what we know about movement and the importance of young girls moving their bodies and how important that is for confidence and how stark of a drop-off there is in middle school for girls to just stop moving their bodies because of those insecurities. So it hasn't been easy, but one of the things I've done is we're not specializing in anything. We're dancing, we're playing a team sport, we're playing an individual sport, and making sure that we keep that diverse and making sure we're part of teams that aren't the all-in, right? We're not traveling for soccer yet. We are doing other things, right? And I'm definitely the outlier in our community doing that, but I just feel very, very strongly that these kids need to learn to move their bodies in a joyous way, that it does not need to be competitive this young, right? But I know that that's fighting kind of against the landscape right now. But then outside of that, I think to echo what you were saying, making movement fun, right? Like my dad cringes every time he comes over because we have a trampoline in the backyard because I wasn't allowed to have one as a kid because somebody's gonna get hurt, right? But like making it fun and playing games and learning horse, right? I mean, when's the last time we got out and played basketball and taught our kids how to play horse? Just silly things like that to engage them. But I will echo, like I feel you. Like it's a hard landscape right now, and I hope that we can make that a healthier landscape for our daughters. Yeah.
I think it's really valuable to remind them that movement is for life, and it doesn't have to be the same thing for your entire life. And so whatever you might choose in this season of life might be different based on the friends or the opportunity or whatever that may be. So while I have always been a dancer, cheer was something that I got into to get a scholarship for college. And so then that kind of transitioned me into a different sport. And then in college, I played other sports and got other opportunities. And all the while kind of understanding that while I'm doing cheer, I'm also learning the weight room so that I can take that into my adult life. Or while I was doing karate, I'm learning strength training in this way. And now as an adult, I do kickboxing classes. And so understanding that movement is for life and the way that we build muscles and prepare our mindset to have that discipline and find that community, the joy, the whatever, beyond grade school, like beyond what they can think of right now.
Thank you, guys.
This might be the same kind of question. What is the best knowledge that you can pass down to anyone in this room that you've learned yourselves?
I would probably say the best knowledge that I have learned is my life motto is to be the light. Whether you're running or dancing or whatever that may be, you don't know what people are stepping into that space with. You don't know if someone didn't show up or almost didn't show up because they didn't know anybody. And so being a person who, runs towards the back of the pack, or being someone who shakes someone else's hand, or saying like, hey, like, am I gonna see you next time? Like going the extra mile to get someone's phone number or social media handle, being like that kind of plug in the glue in the movement and fitness spaces, that has been the best advice.
Oh, I was like sitting over here deep in thought. I was like, I think in life there are always huge, wild stressors, whether that's an illness or somebody's sick or a death, or all of us have things going on at any given moment that seem incredibly overwhelming and nearly impossible to face or endure. And I think for me, the biggest thing is that we may not be able to fully embrace those things or face them, or in the middle of cancer, you can't just be like, well, I've accepted this, I'm good to go. But it's often the smallest things that can really allow us to connect back to ourselves, connect back to our family, even in the midst of the chaos, right? So I think often those small things for me do look like going on a simple jog or a run. Sometimes it's literally drinking a glass of water or taking a shower. So I think it's just about not forgetting that those small things in the midst of the chaos of life are really what can bring us back down and connect us.
You mentioned, Jesse, there's not many running trails in Oklahoma. I don't know if you've looked around. There's not many mountains either. So your first glacier climb, did you ever think you would climb again a mountain? Because I was there.
This is a plant. Somebody planted him in the audience. No. Dad? That's a great question. No, I actually have a major fear of heights, and my first mountaineering experience on a glacier was on Mount Baker, which I just came off of yesterday with my mom, and my dad didn't climb but supported the team, and I was terrified. I literally was. We can cut this out. I was screaming the F word, and my mom was like, "I've never heard you cuss in your whole life," and I was like, every step just like, God, because I was so afraid. And she's like, "Should we turn around?" I'm like, "No, keep going, Mom. Keep going. We're just keep going." So yeah, when I got down from that climb and Dad met us on the trail, I was like, "I hate this. I'm never doing this. This is horrible." Ah. So yeah, it is kind of a plot twist that like 10 years later, here I am. But yeah, so much about that is that I've learned a lot about fear in that time. And I think part of that healing and process of dealing with the fear of living with cancer, if cancer coming back, that kind of stuff, and then going to the mountains and also experiencing a significant amount of fear was really getting curious around that and curious around what fear is there to teach us and what fear is there to sort of work through and maybe isn't real, maybe is in your head. So yeah, I went on a journey, but yeah, it is a major plot twist that just a girl from Oklahoma terrified of heights is a mountain guide.
It gives us all hope, is what I heard from that. We can all do it, right? If we really want to.
We can all do it.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us tonight. Please feel free to stay after. There's charcuterie, drinks, and as Brooke mentioned, the store is open until 8:30. So thank you all.
Okay.